I'm not sure when it started or who started it, but at some point, our society, and most men in particular, have developed this idea, have bought into this myth that women are virtuous, that they hold the moral high ground, that there's something about them that is special, something that separates them from us, that makes them better. We hold them in such high regard. Men put them on pedestals. We believe on some deep level that they are worth the sacrifice because of their virtuous integrity and morality and something. Well, if you've been watching the news this week, there is no doubt in your mind that women are just as bad as the very worst men, and maybe worse in some regards. Today, we're going to be talking about women's integrity, women's morality, women's virtue. That's what we're going for, women's virtue. Because the belief that we hold is what gives them so much power in our culture. And that belief is a myth. And we need to start dispelling it now. Not saying that they're any worse than men, but they sure as hell aren't any better. This is Life 2.0. Let's talk about it. So for those of you who are smart enough not to follow the news, and you haven't heard this story, I'm going to give you a quick rundown. Last week, there was a data breach of an app called T-E-A. T is sort of short for spill the tea. And if you haven't heard that phrase, it's kind of a synonym for gossip. Like the way women spill the tea, they gossip about people. So this app is called T, which tells you its true nature. It's really a gossip app. But the developers of the app knew they couldn't sell gossip. So they sold it in the disguise of a safety app for women, where they would be able to share their personal experiences on dates with men and label them basically as dangerous. You know, so women could avoid the potential for being assaulted by some terrible man. And in the process, these women would upload pictures of these men. They would give their home addresses and a great deal of description about them. And then they would make up these stories, or they would tell these stories about these men. The truth is, there was no corroborating evidence. These men's privacy was being violated without question. The app was not only supporting it, but was promoting this idea. And we were all just supposed to believe these women. And that's the thing. That's where it all breaks down. You know, that women would never lie, or never be disgruntled because a man rejected them, because the man ghosted them. Yeah. Ooh. So, that's where we're at. Well, the hack basically got a hold of like 73,000 of their profiles and put them all on the internet, where some industrious young guys decided they would make an app of their own using those 72,000 profiles, and you could rate these women. Anyway, that's not nice, but the outrage over this app has just hit the ceiling, and women are embarrassed and men are infuriated. But the bigger picture is, and the thing that kind of gets lost in the story, is this app was the #1 app on the App Store and the Google Store. There were over 1 million women who signed up just in the last few months. So this is not some fringy kind of thing. This isn't just a handful of misfit girls who are out there just, you know, with an axe to grind. No, this was widespread throughout our society. These women they were all in it together, you know? And now I believe we've pulled back the veil on the myth a female virtue, because when they're not held accountable and no one's watching, they will do some evil shit. And that's what they did here. That's the only way to describe it. It was just some evil shit. And I certainly hope that they all feel humiliated and embarrassed by their participation in it. For decades, we've been sold the narrative about women's moral superiority, that they are more ethical, they're more compassionate, they're safer, they're more interested in fairness. They don't harm other people. In contrast to men who are the perpetrators of physical violence against others. Women were this virtuous, almost untouchable, for the most part, portion of our society. They were the fairer gender, the better gender. They were the ones that people would go to for a fair arbiter. Well, all of that has been revealed for the bullshit that it actually is. It is true that men are physically more violent and are more likely to commit physical crimes than women are. Women, however, being emotional beings, are more like emotional ninjas. They know how to cause harm at the deepest levels without leaving a mark. That's the magic, that's the beauty they bring to the table. They can hurt you so badly that you want to finish yourself off because it hurts so bad to have been in contact with a woman who has an axe to grind against you. And that's sort of what this T app did. I saw lots of guys who showed up on the T app, on the internet, talking about how they ended up there. One guy was accused of being gay just because he wasn't being sexually aggressive with the other women at his workplace. Yeah, so she posted on this social media site that she believed he was a homosexual. I mean, really, just because he wasn't being a sexual predator. I don't know. Sometimes you wonder, what do they even think? What do they want? What's in their little heads? Because, oh my God, I've been on the theme of women or children forever, and I'm telling you, it is so true. And this app, and what happened with it, is the perfect example. It's like a bunch of schoolgirls, gossiping in the hall about the boys that they have been dating, and sharing intimate information, intimate details. In some ways, they are trying to scare off the girls that might be their competitors by not making their boy out to be such a great guy. And in other ways, they want to hurt the guy that may have hurt them. So they will ruin his reputation. And that's basically what this is. This is like a bunch of schoolgirls behaving like schoolgirls. And the guy that put the app up happens to be gay. Not that that matters. Not that it matters. But he happens to be gay. And he sold them on this idea, or sold society and the app stores on this idea, that this app was in some way filling a service to women. That it was going to protect them. It was going to make them safer from these evil, predatory men out there. When in reality, the women themselves were the evil predators. That's the irony in it, is they had purchased this app to defend themselves against predatory activity, against people who would do them harm. But in the service of that, they caused harm to others. They themselves became the evil that they wanted to protect themselves against. That is the beauty, the irony, and the tragedy of this whole situation. And then, of course, retribution is harsh. It's harsh. And so I saw on Reddit, some guys downloaded all the data, doxed them all, posted all their stuff on Google Maps, and then created an app so that people could go on and rate them based on their physical attractiveness. Just to flip the script on them, just to teach them a lesson about how it feels to be objectified and to be publicly humiliated with no way to defend yourself, with no way of pushing back against it. To have your personal information put on the internet for anyone to see, to associate yourself with something that is extremely negative without your having any say in it whatsoever, and then to have everyone else give their opinion about you. That's basically what the app was. That's basically what the T app was. It was it should be illegal. I mean, I know that there's going to be lots of civil lawsuits that come out of this thing, but that app violates people's privacy. It violates their their human right to just feeling safe in their homes and in the relationships they have. One of the commenters on the channel sent me a document that he created before going on any dates. I'll post it in the description because it's hilarious. But basically it's a disclaimer and a limitation of rights to any woman that he might date, declaring that anything that occurs on the date is proprietary information and is private and it can't not be shared with any third party under any circumstances. I mean, it just goes on and on and on and on. And he sent it to a woman that he was going on a date with, and she agreed with him. So there is hope. There is hope that there are some decent women out there. But trust me, there are a lot of bad ones. I think part of the reason why men and society as a whole hold women in such high regard is because we all have mothers. And for the most part, we're all raised by women. At every stage in our development as small children, there's generally a woman involved. And more often than not, these women do an excellent job of raising us. They show a lot of care and compassion and love, and they can oftentimes be just real angelic. They can be real angels. They're very angelic. Now, if you are lucky enough to have a sister, you noticed at some stage in the game that there was a dissonance. There was something didn't harmonize with what you were seeing, because these women that were being so kind to you as a young person, as a toddler and a little tyke, were different from your sister, who seemed like the essence of evil herself, who would do anything and everything to undermine you, who would try to harm you without hitting you. She would say things and do things to cause you a great deal of pain and discomfort. So you just assumed, growing up, I just thought, well, that's just my sister. She's just a bitch. That's just the way that is. She's obviously off the reservation. She's not like all these other wonderful women out there in the world. And then, in high school, oh my gosh, when you first start getting that tingle and you start thinking, oh, this is going to be good stuff, oh, they're wonderful. They're wonderful. Teenage girls, when you're a teenage guy, oh, there is nothing like it in the world. Like you're just like a plate of glazed donuts. I mean, you're just eating them all. They're just all good. Then you get to college, there's still very little in the way of consequences here, because you're not really going to get married. I mean, it starts getting closer and closer, but they're still acting on what you think is pretty good behavior. They seem to be really wonderful people. Now, when you enter into a committed relationship with them, you start to see the chinks in the armor. You start to see where things break down. What most men don't realize is that in relationships, especially committed relationships, women have this defense mechanism. They primordial, from a primal place. That means first, from deep in their psyches. They have no conscious awareness of this, but they're always looking for a man. They're always looking for someone better. They're always looking for an alternative. They're always looking to see, is there a better option than this guy? And if this guy doesn't work out, I need to have plan B or plan C or plan D in my head. So they try to keep an awareness, a general awareness of the men that are around them and who might be a viable option for them in the event that the relationship with you doesn't work out. Now, like I said, this is a primal instinct. This is something that's at their core. But this is objectively disloyal. This is objectively without integrity, because at the same time that she's telling you she loves you and she wants to be with you for the rest of her life, she's scanning for potential replacements for you. Do you know what I mean? So women at their core, at their primary essence, are built to be unethical in relationships when it comes to monogamous relationships with men. Now, I know that women are going to push back on this and say, oh, but wait a second, men cheat. Men are polygamists. They're all cheaters. You know, that's really not the case. Men don't cheat any more than women do. The statistics show that men and women cheat at about the same level, just for different reasons. So the idea that men are cheaters or are polygamists by nature really isn't true. Now, there is probably a small percentage of men who are, you know, all those Chads and Tyrones or whatever, who have all those options, and all you women are scanning them for as potential replacements for us. They can cheat. They're probably the ones you're thinking of. But for the most part, the average guy is loyal, he's committed, he's in it for good, he'll sacrifice his life for you, he'll do anything you need, and he will commit himself 100%. That's the average man. That's why men do not start divorces. Men do not initiate divorce. Women do. Because women get to that place in the relationship where they have decided that there are better options out there and they can find one, and they think that you're just not good enough anymore. The thing about hypergamy that is really, really bad is there's another facet to it, and it's called monkey branching. So hypergamy is the need to achieve the best mating opportunity. That's basically what it is for women. They want to find the man that can give them the best opportunity to create offspring that are going to be successful and to live a successful life. So I get it, you know, everyone's got their inner drive. You know, like, I get it. I mean, obviously genetically as a species we need to, you know, keep the strong going and let the weak die off. But what's worse than hypergamy is monkey branching. So monkey branching is when she's already made the decision to leave you, but she will stay in your relationship for a very long time until she has found the next landing spot. Women have stayed in marriages for years while they searched for opportunities out there in the world for another landing spot, for someone that they could use. All the while telling their husband or making their husband believe that he's the one. And that guy, that husband, you know, he's working his ass off. He's trying everything he can to make sure that this relationship works. He's committed to the relationship. He's in it. She's out of it. But she's going to tell him and make him believe that she's still in it. This is unethical behavior any way you cut it. Debu, don't go away. You guys, come back here. Come back. This is disloyal. It lacks honor. It lacks integrity. But this is primal. This is not learned behavior. This is what's at their core, okay? So when we believe that women are virtuous in some way, shape, or form, it's not based on anything in reality. Because at their core, as human beings, genetically, from a primal perspective, their behaviors based on common standards of ethics and values would be considered unethical every single time by every single person. And the thing is, women have this in them. They just have it in them. This is not a choice. This is not something that they do. Now, there are some women who can choose to ignore it. There are women who can choose to put it aside. There are women who can choose not to allow this into their lives. But unless they have that awareness, unless they are conscious about what they're doing, it will just emerge on its own, this behavior. And if you're a man in a relationship with one of these women, when these behaviors emerge, God help you. They're going to turn your life upside down. Every once in a while I watch these channels on Chinese culture, and I guess the divorce rate in China is through the roof. It's like 60%. And just like here, you know, these women are posting these videos of themselves just sobbing about their regret over divorcing their husbands, because now, as middle-aged women, they can't find anyone. And of course, the marriage rates in China are lower than they've ever been, and the divorce rates are higher than they've ever been. So this is what's happening when you remove the need for men to help women survive. So women believe that they don't need a man in their lives in order to survive or to thrive. And when they internalize that, and they go out on their own and they try to create a life, especially after a marriage, they find out just how difficult it can be. And then they have these enormous regrets. You know, I think it's almost a meme these days where women who have been married and then get divorced and try to go out and find that better landing spot learn that there is a percentage of men who will take advantage of them, who will do the old pump and dump and leave them very, very quickly. And I can understand why women would feel a lot of anger and rage toward those men. The problem is these women, because of their hypergamous nature, are only focused on this very small percentage of the male population. They believe that these extraordinarily good-looking guys who are making lots of money and are tall and all that stuff are the only ones that are worthy of their attention, because they are trying to achieve the greatest level of mating opportunity they can find. And they believe that because one of these guys is willing to have sex with them, that they're in that same level. They believe the bullshit this guy tells them, because he's going to give them the okie doke. He's going to tell them all the things that they want to hear in order to seduce them, because that's what men do. We'll seduce you. We'll do it. And if you're a good-looking guy and you have the opportunity to seduce lots of women, more power to you. But women don't understand this. They believe that this guy is really interested in them. So when he does the pump and dump, and she's got her feelings hurt, and she's out there in the world on her own, and she's resentful and hateful toward all men because of what this guy did, well, she's going to get on that app, that tea app, and she's going to spill the tea. She's going to just destroy him. Now, I don't think that he deserves to be destroyed, because she is an adult, and she made the decision based on her knowledge of men to get involved with that guy. And now she's paid the price for it. So the female survival instinct allows them to rationalize and justify just about any behavior. So if they're in a bad marriage, they don't like this guy anymore, maybe he's down on his luck, maybe he's sick, who knows? She will use any excuse, any reason to abandon him, leave him and take his children and take half his money in a divorce. And if he fights back, if he tries to defend himself, if he tries to save his marriage or save his children or save his wealth, she will accuse him of terrible things. She'll accuse him of being abusive. Maybe she doesn't have any marks on her body, so she'll say he's emotionally abusive. The tea app was not an anomaly. This is not a one-off. Women demand special treatment. They claim that they have these virtuous characteristics. But when given the opportunity to anonymously do terrible things, to be evil, they grabbed it. Well, at the same time, they're demanding transparency from men. And they're claiming that men are the ones who are treating them with disrespect and being evil toward them. But at the very first opportunity, when they could be anonymous and they could violate men's privacy and they could tear down their reputations and destroy them to the world on a public forum, they did it. They did it en masse. I think that, if anything, this needs to be the wake-up moment for men around the world. We need to realize that at their core, women have this nature. They lack accountability, and they will lash out if they feel that you are not meeting their standards in some way, shape, or form. If you're not performing the way that they want you to perform, they will destroy you. So as a disclaimer, let me just say, I don't think that all women give in to this primal nature, that they all are going to give in to this desire to find another man while they're with you, or they're all going to be so evil when accountability is lacking. I think there are women out there who can be quite virtuous, quite trustworthy, quite compassionate, loving, and loyal. But that's not the norm. It's not the norm. The vast majority of women are unaware of their dark side, of that dark side of femininity. I think Carl Jung talked about it in a lot of his essays, that there is a darkness there. And as men, we need to educate ourselves about this darkness, because if we don't, eventually a woman's going to tear you down, tear you apart, unless you're just really, really lucky. You know, you're like the Forrest Gump that just finds, you know, the lucky girl, whatever. But yeah, you just can't. You can't just trust that because she's a woman, she's going to do the right thing. You can't. You're going to have to find out on an individual basis whether they have the virtues that are important to you and that are critical to a long-term relationship, if that's your goal with a woman. All right, you guys, that's all I got on this. Let me know what you think in the comments. I think this is a pretty good topic. I find it timely, quite honestly. That as dating has died and marriage rates are falling, that women have resorted to this hyper-negative behavior. You know, when you put pressure on people, you see how they behave, and you give them the opportunity to behave badly when no one's watching, and you can see exactly who they are. And I think we've seen exactly who a lot of these women are. So, please like and subscribe. If you know someone who maybe needs to hear this message, please share the video with them. Until next time, stay healthy, and if you can, stay single.